Hi Stampers, welcome to my live card tutorial. I'm Nancy Novak from StampinShout.com, and this week I have been creating some projects using Stampin' Up's Love of Leaves stamp set and the coordinating it's stitched leaves dies. So I'm going to turn the camera around and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So Love of Leaves, great stamp set to give you a artistic looking leaf. When you stamp it, it's not solid, it kind of has a little texture of colors, great sentiments, and it coordinates with the stitch dies. So I'm going to show you a couple of cards tonight. We're going to make them together and you'll see how the dies work. You can cut out a leaf and just have the stitched edge, or you can also emboss with the inside and have the veins of the leaves showing. And then there's this fun little textured piece here that you can put on your card also. So a lot of fun things that you can do. And here's the cards that we're going to make. So a thank you card. And your friendship is something I know I can count on. So there we go. So let's make this one first. We'll talk about how you use all these stamps and the dies. Now today's cards actually are using mostly the dies and the sentiment stamps. I'm doing a card for my newsletter tomorrow that has more stamping in it. So if you are not a subscriber to my newsletter, you can go to my blog, www.stampinshout.com, and off to the right it says want some extras, subscribe here. And what I do is I put out a weekly newsletter. Excuse me, I let you know all the new stamping things that are going on, and I always include a free tutorial on one of the cards that I make. So it's kind of fun way to get a free how to make a card tutorial. So again, you can go there. If you're going to shop with me, you can use my host code, please. And make sure you read all this because I'm going to be covering it up shortly. Basically, anybody that places an order with me between now and Saturday and they use the host code, I will send you the make and takes for these two cards that we're going to make. I'll enter you in the contest to win the giveaway for a free stamp set, and I also will include one sheet of the shimmer paper. Let me show you that shimmer paper. It's very, very, very pretty. So the shimmer paper is a celebration item that you can get. You can earn it free whenever you spend $50 at Stampin' Up. You can choose an item out of the celebration catalog, and this is one of the items. It's 8 sheets of 6x6. It's called Bedazzling Specialty Paper. Very fun, great time of the year to get that paper to make all your holiday projects. Okie doke, let's go. So I'm using a Just Jade card base, and it's cut to 11.5 by 4 1/4, and I scored it at 5.5. Then I have a piece of white that is 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. I have a piece of Designer Series paper, and I think I just mixed these up. Let me look. Hold on. Back up, back up, back up, back up. That's for the other card. I want to do this one first. We're backing up the camera. Okay, so card base is the same. It's Just Jade 11 by 4 1/4, and I scored it at 5.5. Inside I have a piece of white, and that is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, and I have a little piece of Designer Series paper that we'll put in there that's 3 7/8 by 1/4. Okie doke. So I have, for the front, I have 2 pieces of white, and one's just slightly larger than the other. So this is purely optional if you want to do this. I like to mat them. A friend of mine, Julie Gilson, does this. I learned how to make cards from her, so it's one of the things that sometimes I do it and sometimes I don't. But if you want to do that, this is 5 1/8 by 3 3/8, and this one is 5 by 3 3/4. And this piece here, I thought I would have it done ahead of time, but I didn't. I'm going to emboss that with my dots folder. So this is the embossing folder I'm going to use, and it actually is a twofer when you buy it. It's checks and dots. So you get 2 little ones, and they fit your cards just perfectly. One is the little checks, and one is the dots. So I'm going to use the dots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it through twice because it's not going to fit exactly that way. So I'm going to run it through to get the top and to get the bottom. And I'll be right back. So let me get that done off camera. And all the embossing folders use different plates depending on the thickness. So sometimes I have to go ahead and switch it up. And that's why I usually have it done ahead of time. So again, celebration, that's going on now through September. And that is whenever you spend $50, you get to choose a free item out of the celebration catalog. So there's lots of stamps and designer series paper, and what else is there? That bedazzling paper. And I'm having a little bit of camera problems over here, live camera problems. I always tell my husband I need a producer, so they make sure I do everything I'm supposed to do, because I'm so busy with the creating, I kind of forget what I'm doing sometimes. Okay, so I want to show you something here. So I ran it through once, and I've got the texture dots. I just want to make sure that when I run it through the second time, I have it the same way, which means I always have that Stampin' Up! Logo on top. And this one is pretty easy to line up with the dots that you've already embossed, so I kind of just matched them up there. But again, it's not going to matter so much because it's going to be under several layers and it's just going to show on the outside. Okay, I finally got that done. So let me show you this card so you can see. So I have this piece right here textured with the dots. So I am going to go ahead and put these two pieces together with my glue. We'll get the easy stuff done. So again, this is just going to have a fine little matte edge of white. Just adds a pretty little bit of elegance to our card. Okay, and then I have two strips that are 1/2 inch by 2.5 inches. Let me make sure I cut those. They're a little bit longer than 2.5, so I'm actually going to shorten them up because I don't want them too big. So I'm shortening them up here. 2.5 inches by 1/2 inch. So this is going to make it look like we have a whole strip of designer series paper behind this front piece, but we're not. We're just going to have these two little strips right here. So I'm going to go ahead and glue those on, and I'm going to center them, and I'm just going to eyeball it. Actually, I'll bring this one in. It's a little bit longer than the one I have, so those must have been about 2 inches. So every card you make can be just a little bit different. Okay, so we'll finish that in well, I'm going to go ahead and attach this to the front of my card with some glue. Okay. So now what I have for the front of the card is a matte piece, and that's in the Just Jade, and it's 4 3/8 by 3 1/8. I have a piece of white that is 4 1/4 by 3, and then I have a little scrap piece of the designer series paper, and I cut that to 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring in my stitched leaves, and I'm going to bring in this big one here. And I just need to cut the outline. So I'm just using this center piece. So I'm going to position it on the top of my card like this. I'm leaving a little bit of it up at the top. And I'm going to run that through my cutting machine and cut a hole in that cardstock. Making lots of noise over here. So we have this piece, and if you wanted to use this piece, if it was a color or something that you wanted to use, you could use it for your card, and you could also run it through your cutting machine, your embossing machine, one more time with this piece, which has the texture, and that gives it the leaves, the veins of the leaves. That's how you do that. But we're going to just use the hole, and if you look really closely, there's a real pretty little stitched line all the way around that leaf. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece and attach it behind so that pretty paper shows through. And this paper that I'm using, this designer series paper, is the pattern party paper, and it's way at the back of the catalog. So I am just going to put a few dots of glue right along the edges, and then I'm going to attach it, and I'm going to turn it over and make sure that I have everything covered. I don't want any holes showing. So that's how I did that. So now I'm just going to attach this to my matte piece, and it's just got a very tiny little matte piece all the way around. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue the back of this on. If you like a bigger matte piece, you could cut it a little bit bigger, but I like it I like this. Sometimes I cut it bigger, sometimes I cut it real tiny, and I like the way this looks like that. So now I'm going to bring in my dimensionals, and I'm going to pop this up. Hi everyone who's watching. I will go back after and read all your comments, and if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them, type them in there, and I will make sure I answer them. So this is going right in the center, like that. And then I have, for my sentiment, a 1/2 inch piece of Just Jade and a 3/8 inch piece of Just Jade. And I am going to stamp, I'm going to cut this down, but it's a little bit longer than I need. And I'm going to do my stamping in Shaded Spruce. It's a little bit darker than the Just Jade cardstock. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp this right on the center, and I'm going to bring it close to me so I can see. Hopefully I get it on here. Like that. Okay. So now I'm just going to cut this down. And then this piece is going to go on here. And I'm just going to cut this down. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. Get our ink out of the way for now. And I'm just going to glue the sentiment to the matte piece. So the white piece to the Just Jade, go ahead and center it. And gonna go ahead and put a few dimensionals on the back of this and pop that up. So that's gonna go right in the center at the bottom. Then I'm going to bring in a couple of my, these are the 2021-2023 rhinestones, and they're called colored jewels. And there's a color in here, it's that soft succulent, and I'm going to use that rhinestone here and there, and I think it really adds a really nice touch to the card. Then what I'd like to do, if I can find my ribbon, is add a bow. So let's just add a little bow here. So it seems like I go through stages of making bows in different ways. And I didn't do that right. I make them sometimes on my bow maker. Sometimes I make them with little bunny rabbit ears. And sometimes I tie them on my fingers. And lately I've been doing it on my fingers because if I don't do it on my fingers often, then I kind of forget how to do it. And I'm not forgetting it right now, I'm just having jumbled fingers. Just need to put it through this loop here, tuck it, and then give it a pull nice and tight. And then slide it off. And then we'll trim it. And I need a glue dot. If I can get it off my finger. Nice fluffy bow there. And I'm just going to put a glue dot on the back of the knot and attach it, and then trim it a little bit. Okay, so there's the front. Pretty, pretty, pretty. One of my little sequins looks like it fell off. I need a sequin up here. A jewel. Okay, so for the inside, I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm going to go ahead and attach a strip of that Designer Series paper. Seems like you always have extra strips and shouldn't let them go to waste. So I'm just going to make it the same, and I'm just going to glue that down. If I get heavy-handed with my glue on such a little piece, I like to bring in my little silicone pad and get some of that glue off. I can clean that pad later, but that way all my glue doesn't squish out onto my card. Trim this